Hey everyone, this is Catherine Messick, and I am replying to the VoiceThread dignity business. What do I think it is? First and foremost, I think what it means is people are people, and they deserve our dignity, whether they have a special need, whether they are disabled in some way, it doesn't matter. People are people. And that just because they maybe have a disability, maybe because they're in special education, does not mean that their voice is less important. And their opinions and their thoughts on things are something that we need to value and we need to make a part of society and not discriminate against them, that we need to give them and afford them the respect that we would want ourselves. And I think that's the dignity business that we all need to be a part of. What can I do in my role as a classroom teacher? Well, first and foremost, don't ever make somebody with a disability or a special need feel less than. Ever. Make them feel like an active member of your classroom. Whether they're only in your classroom for an hour or 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. They need to know that they have a place in that room. Meaning, if you have a seating chart that has assigned seats and name tags, that child has a name tag on their seat. They are a member of your class. They have a cubby, they have whatever it is if you're at the elementary setting. For me, at the high school level, a lot of times I have some of the special needs and functional skills kids, they're only in gen ed for classes like mine. And so I always make sure they have a portfolio, they have a place where they can put their artwork, that they always know where all of the art supplies are. I make sure that I go out of my way each day to help them if they need it. But that doesn't mean that I make it really obvious to everyone else that I have to make a modification. I think that you need to be very careful with how much information you want the rest of the class to know. The class doesn't need to know that there's anything different between this child and themselves. And I think that's kind of a tough role sometimes as a teacher, because sometimes your modifications have to be pretty obvious with certain students. But I think as a whole, as long as you just kind of go with the flow, plan ahead and make sure that everything is addressed beforehand, you have a lot less to have to explain or stop or kind of come around back to. And I think that's really important, is that person doesn't feel like they're being ostracized or always called out or always being the one that has to get the extra attention. That if you plan ahead for those things, it makes the classroom run smoother, but it also helps that child feel like they're, a part of the classroom, that they have the same amount of dignity and respect as the other members of the classroom, and that they're not always being the one that's, called upon or the one that you're having to give extra help to constantly. And I think that's a big part of our role, is to figure out a way to make them feel more at home. When it comes to the 6 principles of IDEA, obviously an IEP should be just that. We should afford them the dignity of being an individual, and their plan should not look like everybody else's plan. It should be very individualized. It should have their goals in mind. It should talk about things that they do well, things that they don't do well. It should be modified specific to the minutes that they need. Same with least restrictive environment. That's going to look different for each kid. And some kids are going to be able to be in general education longer, or maybe they need to have different preferential seating, those kinds of things. Those are all individual decisions that we need to afford them. And as such, we should afford them the dignity of being able to be a part of that process and have the parent participation part of that. If the student's old enough, I think we need to genuinely listen to their concerns and their educational concerns. And also make sure that they know that they're afforded the rights legally with procedural safeguards to be able to protest a decision that's being made about their own education. So I think that just about answers all of the questions. Thanks.